Good evening and welcome to Slam the Gavel, the show that tells it all regarding family court, other court issues, as well as CPS. I am your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me and my books and blogs on dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. The book, Dismantling Family Court Corruption, Why Taking the Kids Was Not Enough, came out in 2020, followed by Raised by These Wolves, which came out in 2023 as a bestseller as well. And Raised by These Wolves, Volume 2, Child Trafficking Through the Foster Care and Court Systems, came out mid-July as a bestseller. And feel free to buy me coffee to help keep this podcast going. I've got two brand new guests on. I'm happy to have Jacqueline and Danielle Ballard on. They are from Colorado. They are speaking out to fight for justice, which began when a magistrate, Kelly Starritt, told one lie in family court in a custody battle. After Jacqueline and her daughter Danielle called out that lie, the magistrate, Kelly Starritt, retaliated in the worst possible way. Despite thinking they were safe, authorities ambushed them, holding the family at gunpoint, kidnapping the two children, and taking Jacqueline and her daughter to jail without any legal justification. Ever since, they've been fighting relentlessly to expose the truth and seek justice in a system that has worked against them at every turn. I welcome you both on. I'm going to start with mom and grandmother Jacqueline Ballard. How are you this morning?
Thank you. Great. How are you?
Okay. I'm here. And so
Well,
all this, what year did all this start?
my part started in around really 10 years ago when my grandson was born. I became a huge part of his life. So in 2018, my other daughter, their mom, was having some difficulty with drug use, and I was struggling along with her to get the children to school and, kind of get their lives a little more normalized. And so I went to Kelly Starritt and asked for her to help me get custody of the children so that I had them most of the time anyway. So I got custody of the children and became what they call an intervener. So I intervened as their grandmother and asked to have custody of them. And that's a long story in itself, but I ended up going to court. I had to go find the children, and I brought them home, and that was in July of 2018. So 6 years I've had custody of these children, a girl and a boy. And when I got them, they were 3 and 4. I've been a part of their lives since they both were born. And I mean, they're the joy of my life. I've had them for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So fast forward through some of that time, I took care of them and got them to school, kindergarten, preschool, and they both were in the middle of karate and ballet, and I took them swimming several times a week, and I was very involved in their lives. And then when we had a time in our lives when we were sort of had to stay in our homes, I decided to put them in homeschool. And so I did that, and they just had a ball with school and being on their computers. So we worked really hard on that for about close to 4 years, homeschooling. They loved it, and we had a lot more free time to go and do other things. Just field trips, I called them. And I've been a teacher most, all through my adult life. 25 years. And so I was kind of in my element too. And I just had a ball working with them and teaching them. So then we had a situation where their mom decided to start filing motions to try to get custody. And during that time, the judge had asked her to kind of pull it together, get a place to live and get a job and get somewhere where it was stable for them to live. And she never complied with any of those court orders. So I just continued on being their grandmother and their mom in a way. And we, continued to be in court off and on through that 6-year period. And one thing led to another. And then all of a sudden, here we are. And we're being bombarded and ambushed with our local police and a SWAT team. So to take the children away. And that's kind of my story as far as being a grandmother. And then from there, we started to find out a lot of different things about court.
So this ambushing with the SWAT team and the sheriff department.
Yeah.
When did that all start? Was it this year?
Oh yeah. So the children were just finishing up the school year in May of 23, and they actually were done with their curriculum early. And I was really proud of them because they worked so hard during the school year to get done.
They've had straight A's the entire time they've been in school.
And so being done early, we just thought maybe we would go and, reward ourselves for doing such a good job over the school year. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, came CPS, and we were in danger and felt very threatened. And I knew that I had to get these children safe because of, different things that had gone on and reports that I've heard and threats. And the judge did threaten to put them in a foster care home, which there was absolutely no reason, none whatsoever. These children have been so well behaved, straight
Happy,
A's.
healthy. They have queen size beds. My mom makes them fresh meals every single night. There's no reason whatsoever for them to go to a foster home. And so things just didn't really kind of add up. And I started looking into it and realized that most likely this magistrate wanted to traffic these children. And that's the only reason why, because my sister's a deadbeat drug dealer. And so she's an easy target. And then my mom, a grandmother, she's an easy target. And one way between the two of them throughout this custody battle, the magistrate's going to end up with the babies anyways. I call them the babies. So
yeah.
She just thought she was going to end up with them. And so we went to court. Initially, what started this all was we went to court in April of 23. And we basically said, to the magistrate, stop this. There's no need for them to go to foster care. You have no probable cause. You have no evidence. You have nothing. CPS wasn't even involved. And she didn't like that. And she actually lunged over her bench at us and threatened us in court that day. It's like, we can't wait for the movie to come out on this one. And right after that, she decided to retaliate and open up a new court case. And she made up all this, the typical, oh, there's abuse and we have to get the children to safety, and, all the typical lies that you hear from CPS and court. And I was in Florida at the time. And so I could only work so much to help my mom from a distance.
Mhm.
And sure enough, the neighbors called me up and said, you have 2 armed sheriffs at your front door with some blonde chick. Her name was Melissa Zunick. She was a CPS worker there unannounced like, what are you doing at the front door with guns on Monday morning, right after Mother's Day? Like, what's the necessity of guns? And we weren't like threatening in court or anything. We just told the magistrate, like, enough is enough. Like, close the court case. You don't need to have, this is enough, this is stupid. That puts us through so much duress. What are you doing? And essentially what she was doing was collecting money. And essentially what she wanted was the babies at the end of the day. But here's where I want to tie this together with your podcast. You know how you say why taking the kids is not enough? They are now, well, I mean, obviously they've been doing this for a while, but the court system realized that, yeah, taking the kids isn't enough, because now we have 2 adults, whether it's a divorce case or like with me and mom or whatever kind of case you have. And they like, oh, well, we can get 4 times the amount of money off these people, and not just the babies that we take, but we can also take the people and throw them in jail for no reason. And we'll just automatically claim them guilty or not guilty, and then they have to prove themselves not guilty. And there goes the big deep rabbit hole that we started to go down to say, why is this happening? What's going on with us? And that's exactly what they did. We actually, through honorably, once she opened up this second court case, we returned to sender everything that they sent back to us. So if they sent us a warrant or a court order, there's specific ways that you can return to sender them. You don't just write return to sender and send it back, but there's specific ways that you can send it back. And this became almost a year-long thing where we were just sending. I lost count after 52. Let me just say that.
Wow.
52 times they just kept sending us presentments to contract with them, and we would just turn around and send them back. And so in the meantime, we were trying to close the court case, and they had no signatures or anything with the second court case. So why is there, they claim that there was warrants, but their stories are so all over the place. They don't have the same story all on the same page. So,
and also here, they got the online school in the middle of this too. They started pulling people in to be a part. And actually, during that 4-year time that I was homeschooling, not ever once did I have any contact with the counselor of the kids at school. And she jumped in the middle of it. And we found out later that she had been, calling law enforcement.
making up lies.
Yep.
And this was the school counselor?
Yeah.
Of the online school.
So when they issue a warrant and you don't show up, they can reissue a warrant. But if they reissue that warrant, then they have to pay the taxes on it. And courts don't like to pay taxes at all. No, absolutely not. So it's unclear whether they reissued that warrant or not. And remember, we never got it because we returned it back. So we're like, we don't want to play your game. We don't want to contract with you, and we don't have to, that's our right. We don't have to do this.
Right.
But so more people came involved. She got Colorado Bureau of Investigation involved. She got the U.S. Marshal Services involved. And there was 2 hooligans that went around our neighborhood interrogating all of our neighbors, threatening to throw our neighbors into prison if they don't come forward and let them know where we were. and or if you do have information of where they are, we will pay you money. So that's why we think that the therapist of the school came forward, because who wouldn't make up lies for $10,000, right?
Whoa.
Yeah. So we kept them at bay, and we kept, here's the kicker, the longer they keep this open, the more research we do, the more we learn, the more they get in trouble. Also, we have to revert back just a smidge to protect the babies. We put all of us into a private protection trust. So they could not kidnap the babies. They couldn't do it because the babies are in a trust. And further, we USPTO'd our names, which means we had our names trademarked and patented. So they absolutely could not use our names. So they couldn't have access to our bodies, and they couldn't use our names on any legal documents.
That's awesome.
And also I helped, but we did the paperwork on the UCC to claim us all as collateral. So essentially they, in order to have any of our bodies, have to pay us collateral first, you know, for them to take it. So I did that right away in May of last year, so that I could back them, stop CPS, because, you know, and we had the babies and we were safe at this point, and I was just trying to close these court cases. Right. They wouldn't close it for nothing. And I just didn't understand why. I did everything. I sent in bills of exchange, CP 575s, cease and desists, everything. I just kept sending it in. And then the news got a hold of us and started writing stories about us. Oh, they're in danger. The babies are endangered. And
what news station? I'm sorry. What news station?
Fox 31. Lainey Lee Cook was the reporter who started this. And I sent her all this information, and I said, stop, please stop. My mom has custody of these babies. She has guardianship. She has sole decision making. You're making a terrible mistake. But she wouldn't stop. And my sister kept laughing. Bah, ha, ha, ha. Look at what they're trying to do on Facebook. All these terrible things, you know. So it's getting scarier for us, because it's like, oh gosh, you know, we're innocent. Stop it. And they wanted these babies. They wanted these babies. They wanted to traffic these babies. Yes.
Kids for cash. Kids for cash.
And so we figured out how to title merge court cases and take ownership of them, because essentially all of it's your court case. It's your money, your credits. So I just kept telling them, stop this, you know, and the more they wouldn't, the more we dug. So in December, I title merged both court cases, and we were the owners of them. And I was getting ready. And of course, everything we did in honor. So we gave the courts notice. We told them what we were doing. And we said, at any time, you can stop this. All you have to do is close these court cases. And they just ignored us. Silence is acquiescence, right? So we title merged them. We took ownership of them. We gave them notice of this. And the only thing I had left to do was register this on SecGov. And then officially, they're ours anyways. And the securities was on we registered, mailed it back to us, and we put that on the refrigerator, because it was kind of like, I was proud of the work that we did, right? So January 10th comes of this year, and I don't even know how many people were on our lawn and surrounded our house, but there was at least 8 or 9 cars. SWAT surrounded our house.
Front and back.
They did their sirens. They got on the megaphone and said, we know you're in there, come out.
What a waste of taxpayer dollars. Okay.
Oh my gosh. And so I went out and was like, I was kind of laughing, because I was like, you guys are ridiculous. They had their automatic weapons held at our face. And the U.S. Marshal was standing there, and he was spitting in my face as he was talking to me. And he said, "Call your mom right now." And I said, "Can I please just walk back in the house and tell her to come out?" And he just was horrific talking to me. I was calm as a cucumber, cool and collected. They arrested me, did not read my Miranda rights, did not tell me my charges, just threw handcuffs on me and walked me up the street. And I told the chief of police, whom I knew, because it's a small town and we knew all the cops. I told him, I said, "Please don't bang the door down with that metal rod. Please be gentle. The babies won't come out. You should go in there because they know you." And it was just this horrific scene. They took me off to jail. They took mom off to jail, and that was the last time we took the babies. The entire time we asked for our warrants. They said, "You don't have any." We asked why we were being arrested. They said, "The judge will tell you tomorrow." We asked what the charges were. They wouldn't say. And in fact, and I've written this a million times in all the affidavits, and by all the paperwork I've done is on public record. So if anyone wants to see this, it's out there. The cop who took me to jail looked at the sheriff when he was booking me and said, "What should I write in my report about her?" And the sheriff said, "I don't know. We'll think of something." So, now we've never been in trouble a day in our lives. So here we are in jail. They separated us. I went to one pod. My mom went to the other. We had a dog and a cat in the house. They ransacked our house when they arrested us. So I knew that everything was probably gone when they took us in. And I just, that first 24 hours that you're in jail is like the worst, because there's scary people in there. You know, it's just scary. It's cold, it's dark, it's scary, it's insane. And we went to court, and the judge, now this was the county judge, Bo Zerip, placed a $50,000 cash only bond on us. He talked so fast, and I think that we were such under duress. We had no idea what happened that day. I cannot tell you. He read my mom her rights at that point in court. I do remember that.
The Miranda rights?
Yes.
That's a day late and a dollar short.
Right?
Exactly.
And we had no idea what our charges were. And so, like, fast forward a little bit, I ended up dropping my bond just a smidge to $35,000. And I had a public defender, but he was from another county, and my mom had a public defender. And the whole time, like, we didn't know if we should have a lawyer or not. I was like, I don't really think that's good, but I don't really know, because we were trying to figure it out, because we were trying to figure out what was going on with the babies.
Had no idea where they were.
No idea. And we had, they took our phones, they took everything. So it's like, please, if anyone, remember one phone number and engrave it, because when you get in this situation, who do you call? So I had to sit and wait for my friends and the people who we worked with to help me through all this stuff, figure out that I was probably in jail. And they did very quickly. And
because who has phone numbers? So
yeah,
we have our
phones
I didn't
anymore.
even know her phone number.
Yeah.
Her whole life is in my phone, right?
Exactly.
Pictures,
Yeah.
babies' pictures,
Everything.
schedules, all of it. Right.
So they got mom a public defender, and then I had one from outside county, and we just had to sit in jail and wait. We dropped my bond a little bit, but they absolutely would not drop mom's bond. They wouldn't even address bonds. And so here we have a $50,000 cash only bond, essentially, for both of us. and cash only, which means you can't get a bondsman. You have to pay cash only. And everyone in jail is like, wait a minute, you guys don't belong here. What's your deal? And I was like, don't say anything to mom, because the news now got a hold of us being incarcerated, and they flipped the script and said that we were trafficking the babies. We were doing all this horrible stuff to them. We were abusing them. And I was just like, Mom, this is the most ginormous mountain that we're gonna have to climb, and it's awful. You're in jail and you feel like you're this big, you know, like you can't, how do you come out of this?
Yeah. And
So,
was this Fox 31 saying that you had been incarcerated and trafficking the kids?
let's see, who was it? Oh, a lot. Delta County Independent,
Newspaper,
Montrose,
yeah.
it was all the newspapers. And then we were on the news.
Channel 8 and Channel 11 of Delta,
Of
or
Grand
of
Junction.
Grand Junction, Mesa County.
And then they take your mug shots and they make you look like awful.
120 years
You
old.
know, put extra wrinkles on your face, all this.
Oh,
And so we had to sit and wait to be like, okay, what are we going to do? In the meantime, my friends were trying everything they could. Habeas corpuses, which, hi, nobody knows this. Study your Constitution and your Bill of Rights. Section 1, Article 9 is like, you can't deny a habeas. And we tried 6 times and we got denied every time. So look at that corruption, right? And then we kept asking for charging instruments because we knew that if we just gave them our signature. Oh, and also, by the way, sorry, I'm going a mile a minute.
that's okay. That's how these cases are. Everyone who listens to these podcasts know that these cases are multifaceted.
When we were booked into jail, we did not sign our names. When you're signed in and you're booked in, we did not sign our names, which is important because they need that in order to get money off of you to fund.
Where were you in 2015? I should have known that. Or 2017, actually.
In Florida.
Oh, geez.
I don't know. I bop around. I love Florida. So I was between Colorado and Florida a lot. But I've always been here for mom and the babies, you know. Side note, when I lived in Florida right after the lockdown, I'd get off work and I would call them and I'd have a drive home a little bit and we'd all read, you know, I'd have the babies read to me like The Mouse and the Motorcycle or something like that, you know, or the BFG or Matilda or like, you know, those really fun books. And we'd all read together, you know, like as a family, like to close out the night or whatever. And they all laughed at me because I'd always fall asleep before they did but that's a side note. But we always had like family time like that, you know?
Yeah.
So but anyways,
you're saying don't sign your name when you go to jail.
Don't sign your name, because the second you sign your name, you're giving them permission to take your document to the Treasury window and fund your case. So you're paying them because they're getting all that money, right? So we didn't sign our name. And so I'm like, this is going to be interesting because now it's unclear. We don't really know, but we think that we probably costed them money every day that we were in jail rather than paying. They were being paid from us, right?
Right.
So, or they forged our names, which they did for the public defenders because we never filled out any applications to have any public defenders. So we didn't sign anything, you know? So we bonded out. I bonded out first. And then my mom got MRSA in jail.
Oh, no.
And the nurse thought it was a fun game to just give her a leave. And my mom's like, I need to go to the hospital. And I just went like a mad lady and just started doing paperwork to try to stop the court cases and stop all this stuff. Because remember, they had no warrants on us. We didn't contract with the second court case. I mean, this just it's just like crazy, right? So thank goodness our neighbor is very, very kind. He took care of our animals in our house and paid our bills for us while we were in jail. I was in jail for 90 days and my mom was in jail for 119 days. And finally, he just went and pulled money out of the bank and got my mom out. Paid 50,000 cash right there, got mom out because she had MRSA. So we had to get her medical assistance right away because she was denied that in jail.
Well, when I was a nurse and a patient had MRSA, we had to gown and glove up before we went in that room. So
Right.
that means Jacqueline was, contaminating other prisoners in there.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And I don't know what happened to any of the other girls that I was with.
Oh,
They were all young girls, so some of them were so sweet, kept me going, but I was very sick when I came out of there.
oh.
And that started March 8th, and I'm still dealing with it, but I'm at the tail end of it. It's much, much better, but it's been hard, I just don't feel good a lot of the time.
It takes a lot out of you.
Yep. And it just takes a lot of rest and just
taking like vitamins, supplements,
I
Right.
mean, I'm so grateful to get back to good food and vitamins and, supplements to take care of myself.
And that's a huge human rights violation right there that prison committed.
Right.
Yep.
Exactly. So I got out that day, that was in May, and came home, and it's really strange what it does to you. We just have stayed in the house and continued to do paperwork, the things that we know we needed to get done. We're working on, with the babies, and, you can carry on from
So
there.
they still don't have any charges on us. We did a commercial redemption on that to say, okay, here, take our signature, take our social security number, take this to the treasury window. And in the meantime, by the way, mom's public defenders quit. Everyone, we have gone through, like, I think there's been about 9 people who have quit this court case. Judges, public defenders, lawyers, I mean, DAs. They see the writing on the wall because they know that this is a huge lawsuit just waiting to explode.
Yeah.
And they all quit. So the second mom got out of jail, no attorney would touch her. And mine was a very, very, William Trent Palmer was very, very hard leech to get rid of. I actually tried to dismiss him in March when I was still in jail. And just the end of August, finally, our district court judge, Schultz, finally let him go. And we had to get kind of like really nasty with Schultz and be like, look, this is ridiculous. I don't like him. He doesn't like me. We don't work together, which was not really the truth. The truth of the matter of fact is I told my lawyer, I said, get out now because there's a huge lawsuit happening. And if you don't want to go down with the ship, get out now. And finally he was like, okay. So because Schultz absolutely was not going to let me not have a lawyer. And so we did a commercial redemption and said, take our signature, take our social security number, take this to the treasury window and pay for the case. We want the babies back. And they're our property because they're in a trust. You
Right.
can't do anything with them. They're ours. And give them back and just close the case. The whole time, that's all we said. Give them back, close the case. Give them back, close the case. From May 3rd until now, the judge and the court clerks have not filed any of our documents into our court case. They won't record any of our court matters. We've asked for transcripts. We've asked for everything, the 1099 OIDs, the bill of particulars, the margin calls, everything. We FOIA requested it. They just keep ignoring us. And so finally, at the beginning of September, we filed a formal writ of review and we sent it to federal, and we sent courtesy copies to DHS and the DA and the court. And the DA immediately responded back and said, okay, I'll look at these court cases, because we have 6 court cases now, by the way. They took the 2 and they multiplied them, and they have now 6. And look at how much money they're making off of those 6 court cases, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they, where was I? Sorry, I go fast and then
no. The clerks were not recording. Now
No, they don't record
6 cases.
They don't record any of our documents. They don't record any of our court. Like when you go into court and they say this is on the record, because we kept saying, take our charges and read them on the record, and the judge wouldn't do it. And so then we would start to read our charges on the record, and he would interrupt us and be like, that's it. And they would interrogate us and have the jail guards there with their stun guns. And at one point they pushed Mom over the bar and was like, you will cross this bar and you will do this. And it's just like, we're done playing your stupid game. So we took the commercial redemption. We said, fine, pay for this and just close the case. Well, now it's unclear if they actually took the money for those cases. It is said that it's $1 million per felony. Now, they have 5 felony counts on me and 4 on my mom. So we basically wrote them the check for, and they wanted to send us to prison for 6 years. So we basically said, here, take this 30 million and do whatever you need to do with it. But it's unclear if they actually cashed it in at the Treasury window, because remember, they have to pay the taxes on it. So we're not sure if they actually did that and just refused to close the case, or if they didn't take it to the Treasury window because they're afraid, because they have to pay the taxes. So,
and the GSA bonds too.
Forgot about this part. There's so much. When we were in jail, we submitted GSA bonds, which when you know how to do the GSA bonds, that is the golden ticket to get you out of jail or prison, either one.
Mm-hmm.
They're general admission services bonds, and you fill out all this paperwork and you send it in, and it deals with your social security number and your birth certificate number. And when you do it right and you send it in, it gets you out of jail. Well, we did those. Our friends helped us, and we should have been out of jail February 29th, but they didn't let us out of jail, obviously. And instead, they have a brand new construction. The whole jail is being completely under construction now, and that started in March. So this is interesting. I said to federal, why don't you look into the financials of where these GSA bonds went exactly, and who is funding this construction project? Because I'll bet that's what they use those for. We could be wrong, but that also, I mean, we've
That's
tried
fishy.
Yeah, right. So we submitted this a review. The DA is like, okay, we'll look at it. And on the 10th of September, he sent us another motion saying that he wants to merge me and Mom's court titles and recharge us with new charges, since the old charges don't match up with the DHS's report, because nobody's story is straight.
All the
Terrible.
different stories and all the different, and nothing matches up.
No.
DHS says one thing, the
news,
charges says another thing.
the news says one thing.
There's,
yucky.
16 different stories about what our charges were. And so
the charges that they gave us was violation of a custody order.
Oh.
And there was no custody. I mean, I had custody, which, let me back up a second. Before all this, our chief of police put out a Amber Alert, and they could not make that work because at the top of the Amber Alert, it said that Jacqueline Ballard, had full custody of these children. They tried to push it, and at the end of whatever that time span was, whoever was in charge of the Amber Alert said, we can't do this. It doesn't match up, because
Doesn't jive.
this woman has full custody of these children. So they couldn't, and evidently he tried several times. Our whole community was telling us about that. We didn't know about it until later.
Yeah.
So one more thing.
And the whole time, my public defender, and then also when mom was in jail, her public defenders, everyone, the DA, the judge, take a plea deal, take a plea deal, take a plea deal. And it, of course, we're like, no, we didn't do anything wrong. Why would we take a plea deal? You know, like, why would we admit to anything? You guys are the ones who messed up, not us. You guys kidnapped us, took us in jail. And they wanted us to be like 4 years of probation, UAs, BAs. So it kept bothering me. If a felony is worth $1 million and essentially they're trying to push trial, sort of trying to push trial, but like, really, we need you to take this plea deal. Why would they go from 5 felony charges down to a misdemeanor plea deal? Like
a minor
traffic infraction. And then it dawned on me that they are trying to cover up the fact that they sent us to jail with nothing. They just kidnapped us and threw us in jail. They had nothing on us. They had nothing. They didn't even have warrants on us. So why would they? Oh, because they don't want to get in trouble for throwing us in jail, and they need to sweep this under the rug as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, let's look at this from the money side.
Mm-hmm.
Think about a normal case. When you have a normal case, and sorry, I'm not saying anything is normal by any means.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a typical, let's just take a divorce case, and they open up the case and they set it out for at least 2 years. So when they open up that case, they go to the Treasury window and they say, we need like $2 million to fund this case. And they take that $2 million and they put it in escrow. And that $2 million acts as kind of a savings account. So for example, if you decide not to show up to court, they issue a warrant, they take out $10,000 from that escrow, you know, as that savings account to kind of fund this little warrant that they have going on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you follow me a little bit here?
Mm-hmm.
So when they open up court cases, they kind of set them out as typical, at least for our county, 2 years out. So they take, for me and mom's court cases, they were taking about, you know, we don't know the amount, obviously, but they were taking 2 years to get us sentenced and either take a plea deal or send us to prison. But here's the kicker. Let's say that we would agree to a plea deal. We sign our name on a document. They take that document to the Treasury window that acts as money, and they fund that escrow account for the next 2 years. Okay. And typically when you have a court case, after 2 years of probation, they look at it and say, wow, you've done really good. Let's do this. Or no, you haven't do good. Let's do this. And they re-sign your name, take it to the Treasury. Look, do you see this awful cycle you get in? So every time you sign your name, they take this to the Treasury and they refund their accounts. And all along, they're not filing taxes on this. They're making you pay the taxes on this. They're getting scot-free on all these millions of dollars. And so this goes back to your whole why taking the kids was not enough, because not only are they making money daily off of kids being taken out of your, out of your possession, they're claiming that as abandoned property, and they're making a daily bonus for every day that those babies aren't in your care.
That is horrible. This is what the taxpayer needs to know.
Yeah. And we are so grateful for you and you taking the time to hear our story, because you're like one of the first. We've been trying to reach out to the news and no one will talk to us. So thank you. We're so grateful for you.
We are.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. But where are your kids? Where are they? You have no idea?
We have no idea.
They took them away on January 10th, and we haven't seen or heard anything since. And they put the fear of God into us that if we tried to do anything to go find them, that it would be not pretty. And so everything we've done, we've had to tread lightly on eggshells to not hurt them and hope that they are close. We think
Mhm.
they're close because their mom is still hanging around.
Mhm.
And you know, we think that, you know, she doesn't even want her kids, sadly. All she wants is money.
Right.
And further, what was I gonna say?
She's trying to get them put up for adoption. She does not want.
Because there's more money in adoption as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Now,
But
how do you know she's trying to put them up for adoption?
She was in court with that.
they
that
opened another
situation.
case on that, which is one of the 6 that I was talking about. And also on top of this, by the way, I highly recommend that parents out there who are struggling with this, claim your babies, put them in trust, do announcements that they are your property, take their birth certificates, look into this part. What we did was we redid birth announcements on bond paper, put the stamp, put the flag, got them notarized, put them on public record, put them on the UCC, sent them to everybody and saying, you have 72 hours to say yes or no, whether these babies are to rebut what we're saying. And nobody did anything.
No one has rebutted anything ever.
But also our judge now, Schultz, he even admitted that he throws our documents in the trash. And he knows that those documents would exonerate us because they know what they did was wrong. So we filed a federal lawsuit on, I think it's like 101 people, persons, entities. That's working its way through federal right now. And then we have this review that we're waiting on. We rebutted the district attorney's little crap of, oh, we're going to merge titles and redo charges on you. So we're waiting to hear from that. And any day, all you have to do is bring the babies home, close these cases, you know, but they just keep trying to cover up this ginormous hole. And remember, it was all from one lie from this magistrate a year ago.
Terrible. You know, shame on Fox 31. They could have had a good coverage of this case. They could have followed your case
Yeah.
a lot better.
And we've sent information to our local newspaper and to the TV stations. You know, we have put everyone on notice for every single thing that we have done all the way along this whole past year and a half. And we have gotten absolutely no support at all.
And that's like the federal suit with you said 101 people on it?
It's persons and entities. So yes, 101.
And you know, you've got a lot of merit to your case.
Yeah.
This is, you know, I want you to win.
Yeah.
And get these kids back.
Right.
Yeah.
Their whole goal is to make money off of these kids with disabilities.
Yeah.
Adopt them out, get these incentives, bonuses.
Right.
I'm sorry you're going through all this.
But I tell mom, it's yucky and we have our days, but I tell mom, I'm like, we're the pioneers. We have to plow through this because we have to make these court systems stop. What they're doing is completely awful on every level.
Oh my God. Well, you know, if you think the kids are close by, have you talked to neighbors, seeing if they know where they're at?
No, nobody knows.
Nobody really knows, you know. And through all this with our neighborhood, you know, I feel just terrible we have a lot of elderly people on our street. And for this marshal to be banging on doors and sticking his foot in the door. And one neighbor had her husband on hospice and was taking care of him while he was bullying her another neighbor who was one of my very best friends. He was so stressed out about our situation because, of course, he loved us. He loved the children. He helped so much. And he just recently passed away. And I don't know, we don't really know what happened or why. He just got really, really sick. And I feel very responsible for, the way that this marshal treated people on this street. And in the meantime, we found out that we have a couple neighbors who were, reporting back to our local police as to every move we were making.
Because they wanted that
Money.
payout.
They wanted money.
I wonder
So
if they got any.
They did.
They did. Yep.
Do you know
They
how
did.
much?
No.
No, he paid off a truck, bought a new camper.
Oh, it must have been a lot then.
Yeah. Bought a new lawnmower. Still watching us. It's pretty sad.
Well, God deals with people like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I can say, kudos to Danielle. She has studied and read, and she's helped so many other people. And, we're building the blueprint on how to help other people through this situation. It's awful.
Because if they're doing that to us, who
Mhm.
else are they doing this to that don't even know?
Across the United States, and really around the world.
Right.
From other situations
Mhm.
that I've heard. And it'll make us stronger. I know that in the end. I'm the prayer warrior, and she's the studier. She knows this stuff very, very well. And I'm 68, so it's been a little bit hard for me to
Comprehend what's going on.
and accept, because
Right.
this is not how I grew up.
No,
At all.
this is not normal behavior when everyone, and I've said this before on the podcast, you think you're going to court where justice will be served or will be fair, and it's far from the truth.
Yeah.
It's really quite the situation. I moved over here from the Boulder, Denver area to come and take care of my parents. We're in a tiny little sort of cow town, and the friendliest town around, they say.
Yeah.
And
Oh, boy.
That's why we gave you that picture.
yep,
Yeah.
it's not friendly at all. I
No.
mean,
No.
we have really, it's been rough. And I took care of my mom and dad, and I ended up with the kids in the meantime. And I don't begrudge it at all. God put that situation in my hands, and I want to finish it.
Mhm.
We haven't been away from the kids
Ever.
this long ever. I mean, I have, because I move around. I love, I'm not married. I don't have kids, but those are my babies. I call them, I send them things in the mail, postcards, read to them all the time. I know I'm right there with them all the way.
Those poor kids what did they do? Did they come into your house and take these kids out of the house? That
At
must have
gunpoint.
scared them.
At gunpoint.
We haven't even had a chance to talk to them yet.
No.
At all. And interestingly enough, a lot of the girls that I was in the pod with know these kids, and they knew my daughter very well because of the dealings that they had. And it just,
My sister, they knew my sister because she's like a really big drug dealer here in town.
so they just kept saying, you two don't even belong here.
Right.
And they prayed all the time for these babies to get safe and to come home. And there will be a homecoming, and it'll be soon.
Oh,
So
just terrible, just absolutely terrible. You're both welcome to come back on with an update at any time. Let me know.
Okay.
we will.
And
That's important.
yes. How would you like to be reached? Or, go through dismantlingfamilycourtcorruption.com. Okay. Just so everybody knows that. And this is just so terrible. And I really horrified by all of this. Jacqueline and Danielle Ballard, I'm so glad you were able to come on and educate everybody on all of this.
We thank you for the
We just,
opportunity.
yeah, we have so much gratitude for you and appreciation. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Don't jump off. Slam the Gavel is a podcast to help the public understand what really goes on in these courtrooms. I'm your host, Maryann Petri. You can find me on Spotify, YouTube. Please like and subscribe, Apple iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google, and other platforms I don't even know about. Again, feel free to buy me a coffee to help keep this podcast going. Thank you so much, Danielle and Jacqueline Ballard. Thank you.
Thank you.